Bridge fishing, guys, how are we doing? And I am stood in the middle of a beautiful, beautiful river. I'm back in Japan, baby, and this little episode is going to tell you the story of how I've ended up here, because honestly, it is a little bit crazy. Crazy is probably an over-exaggeration, but fluke, fate, whatever you want to call it, it's out of this world. And I tell you what, the wind's just picked up as I decided to come and film this. Absolute sod's law. So I'm currently perched on the river Shiribetsu, living the dream as always. Life is always a dream when you're fishing, and there's always a lot worse things to be doing in life. But before I came to Japan, I was having a bit of a rough time. I'll be honest with you, my mental health was in a really bad place. I was doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't be doing, and I was sort of wondering where my life was going. I quit my job 18 months ago, took my savings, every little penny that I had, and decided to go traveling and fishing and just see the world. But I didn't really have any plans. I didn't have any sort of objectives really. It was just to do my YouTube videos, as you've seen, and just see where the world took me. And it took us on some great adventures. Not just around the world, but also in the UK, because the UK has some amazing fishing. And I've been so lucky to spend a good length of time just exploring some of the UK's waters, and I hope you've enjoyed them along the way. But it was the start of this year, 2023, for anyone who's watching this in 2026, right? I was sat there going, I'm gonna have to go back to work at some point. The savings are running out, time is against me. So I thought, right, let's do one last trip, Japan. Japan is a mental country. I didn't know much about the fishing, but I knew they had some unbelievable fishing tackle. And I thought that surely has to be a good omen for some good fishing. So I booked my flight, and a week later, I was here. In Hokkaido, where I currently am, fishing as we speak. The snow was pouring down, it was cold. It was cool, but it was cold. And I didn't really know what I was doing, in truth. I thought, let's just have a little potter about and see where the world takes me. I travelled around Japan. You will have seen the videos, I'm hoping. If you haven't, there's a full playlist full of them. So that's going to entertain you for a few hours. And we had a great time. We met some really cool people. I met a guy called Spicky who told me to go to Australia, Cairns. And we went to Australia and fished on crocodile-infested beaches and had some of the best fishing I've had on the planet, which is a great story in itself. But then the story seemed to escalate from there. I went down to a place called Miyazaki. Miyazaki is a pretty funky little place. It's right in the south of Japan. It's a bit of a surf town. And I sort of went there just to get a bit of sun and just a bit of nice weather. Is that genuinely, have I been filming that with that going on in the background the whole time? I hope not. Oh, for God's sake. When I'm trying to tell a story, classic. But anyway, and I was staying in this little surf hostel in this little surf town in Japan. It was a pretty cool little hostel. I met a great guy called Suzuki, who's a really good friend, and genuinely it was an absolute pleasure to meet him. But I did meet someone slightly more influential on my life, and it was a guy called Damo. And now, I don't really trust Damos, I'll be honest with you. The last Damo I met got with a girl that I fancied, so I was dubious from minute one. But it turned out Damo was a bit of a guy. I'll put a little picture of him golfing for you. There you go. And when Damo arrived, he wasn't even meant to be staying in this hostel. He accidentally booked a love hotel, which in Japan, a love hotel is basically where you can go and have sex for half an hour. And he didn't fancy it. I think his girlfriend probably didn't fancy it more than anything. But regardless, he didn't fancy it, and it was to my benefit. And coincidentally, the day that Damo arrived in this hostel was St. Paddy's Day. And Damo is Irish. So as you can imagine, he was feeling rather fruity. And as such, we went to the onsen, got bollock naked together. Suzuki was with us as well at the time. I should also caveat that little bit of info. That was a big load of weed there. And long story short, we got a bit drunk and he told me what he did. And he said, oh, I work up in Hokkaido. Yeah, I do a bit of like marketing for a ski company actually. And I said to him, oh, that's quite good. We do golf in the summer and we're actually looking for a fishing guide as well. And I said, well, I play golf and I also fish. And he went, really? And I was like, yeah, mate, I do both. And he was like, oh, would you look at golf caddying? I said, would I look at golf caddying? Of course I'd do some golf caddying. But I also said, I could also guide as well if you wanted to. And he went, all right, okay. And at this point, it was 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So just to give you the context of where this conversation was. And then anyway, we had a couple of days in the hostel. It was all fun and games. Damo went on his merry way and I said goodbye, but did just remind him. And I said, look, mate, you know, if your boss fancies it, I'm definitely up for an interview, you know. I've got nothing else to do going back home, you know. And he went, all right, okay, leave it with me. So my time in Japan continued, then went back to Tokyo, and then I set off to Oz. And then as I landed in Oz, it was 7 in the morning at this point, and I was a bit worse for wear. I was just looking at my emails, and it's from Damo. And well, actually, it wasn't even my emails, it was my Instagram. It was a message from Damo, and the message said, yeah, we're keen for it. You know, do you want an interview? And I said, all right. Yeah, but like, what about the visas and stuff? What am I going to do with that? And he goes, well, you know, we'll see, we'll play that one by ear. Let's have an interview, and then we can work it out from there. And I said, all right, okay, let's do it. So we had the interview with a lovely guy called Raymond, and the interview went really well. And I said, what are we going to do about visas at the end? He said, oh, you're sponsored. We'll get you sponsored. And I said, you for real? Yeah. So go to Australia, have a great time, come back, and we'll get your visa sorted then. You won't be able to work until it's all sorted. And I thought, all right, okay, yeah, I will. What have I got to lose? I'll do it. Sure enough, I land back in Hokkaido, in an area called Niseko. And Niseko is famous for skiing. It's a phenomenal ski resort. And long story short, I ended up here. And I was meant to be doing a little bit of everything, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, shaking it all about, you know what I mean. Bit of fishing guiding on the side, a little bit of caddying, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I was sat there fishing away. And as I was sat there fishing, I thought, there's an opportunity here. Because when I was traveling around Japan, it was quite tough finding fishing, and fishing guides specifically, because a lot would only speak Japanese and they wouldn't respond to you, even if you sort of used Google Translate or whatever. And I was sat there like, this is an opportunity in the making here. And not only that, I'm based in Hokkaido. And Hokkaido is one of the best fishing spots on the planet. And that's not an understatement either. I approached my boss. Now, I'm currently working for a company called Niseko Wow, which is a property management company. Manages properties for wealthy individuals across the area and rents them out during the winter months and makes an absolute bomb. And you know, I said to him, well, what about the summer months? He was like, oh, we do golf and stuff, but let's be honest, the winter's our main money earner. And I said, well, let's try and make fishing a money earner, because you're in an unbelievable spot. There's potential here. And actually, there's another bit of potential. Just wider Japanese fishing. And you know what? If you could support me, I'd love for you to back me on it. And he goes, all right then, mate, go on, let's do it. Set it up, let's make it happen. And sure enough, I'm now in Japan. I have a fully sponsored visa. And I've just set up a brand new entity alongside my current job and alongside the business that I work for. It is a company that is technically owned by them, called Japanese Fishing Adventures. And the point of it is to connect foreign tourists to Japan from anywhere in the world, any English speakers, to good fishing in Japan. And this has all come from me being at a complete loss. No idea what to do with my life, no idea what's going on in my life, to then meeting a guy in a hostel, to now running and operating a fishing guiding business in Japan, which not only includes me actually being a guide on the current river that I'm fishing, semi-living a dream. And I don't want to be the preachy guy of going, oh look, I went through all this hardship and now look at the dream. But like, that's actually happened. And that has happened because I've not given up on wanting a career or a life that involves fishing. Like, I could have happily sat in my banking job and earned a hell of a lot of money and had a really nice life. But I think I'd have always been pining for something different. And that's sort of where we are now. And arguably I could have done this in England, where it'd been a hell of a lot easier because I speak the language. But now I'm actually doing it in Japan, where it's 5 times as hard. So I'm not sure if that's a positive or a negative, but in the grand scheme of things, it's an absolute win. Because I'm living in one of the most beautiful parts of the world, sorting people out with fishing, and I get just as much enjoyment about people telling me what fish they've caught and all that type of stuff. Like, when you subscribers message me about the fish you've caught, I get a bit excited for you. So never mind the fact that then I'm getting people onto guided trips, working with fishing guides across the country, to then not only doing it myself. So, as a result, Japanese Fishing Adventures has been formed. So what is Japanese Fishing Adventures? Well, as I hinted on, when I came to Japan, I found it really hard to find guided fishing with English speakers. A lot of guys here in Japan, if they see that you're a foreigner, they're not racist, they just don't fancy taking you out. But I thought there might have been a little bit of an opportunity to bridge that gap, to find Japanese guides across the country who speak English, who are prepared to take you guys out. And as such, Japanese Fishing Adventures was formed. And we have guided trips all over the country, and it is going to be growing and growing as the business grows as well. We have guided trips right in the center of Tokyo, one of our favorite trips I've ever done fishing around the world, and that was for Suzuki in Tokyo Bay. What an unbelievable place to be fishing that is, guys. You've got structure all around you, you've got the Tokyo skyline in the backdrop, and you are fishing for one of the hardest fighting fish on the planet. The Suzuki is a little bit of a combination really between a European sea bass and a snook. It's a pretty mega fish, and you can go out on the boat and a bad day's fishing is 15 fish. Absolute scenes. These fish can grow up to like 90 centimeters as well, and if you've got one of them on the line, you're gonna bloody know about it. On our day trip, we got up to 63 centimeters, and we weren't even at the best time of year. I was fishing early March time, which can be a little bit hit and miss. The great thing with Suzuki fishing is that you can fish for these bad boys all year round. So there's not a time of year when you don't stand a chance of nailing. We've got an unbelievable guide called Itsuru, who's a top bloke, speaks really good English, and he knows his way around lures. This guy used to work for Megabass, which some of you probably know, some of you might not know, but they're a huge brand out here, and they make some of the best lures on the planet. Surely it makes sense to be doing some of the best fishing on the planet with some of the best lures on the planet. That's what you'll be doing there. That's one of our guided trips, and I can't recommend it enough. Another trip that Japanese Fishing Adventures can organise for you is largemouth bass fishing on the largest lake in Japan. I'll be truthful with you, I feel like this is a little bit of a coup getting this on board, and this was a really fluky coincidence how I've ended up being friends with this guy and being able to have him as a guide on the business. Lake Biwa is a pretty mega lake here in Japan. As I said, it is the largest, but it is also home to the largest largemouth bass. The record came out of there and it was 22 pounds 8 ounces. That is absolutely insane. What a fish. Imagine catching that fish and you stand a chance of nailing something, maybe probably not the 22 pounds, but there is a really good average number of decent sized fish in the water. So you stand a chance of probably a double figure bass, which is absolutely mental. Guys out in the States, I'm sure you know this, that a double figure largemouth is out of this world. And that lake holds them. We went and did a little guided trip here in truth, and safe to say, I was a bit worse for wear, I was pretty hungover, and it didn't go as planned. But we still managed to nail a few fish. The guide that we have there is a guy called Mori, aka Mori-san, and he is mental. He has caught some seriously huge bass, he's put some of his customers onto some seriously huge bass, and he really knows his onions. The great thing about this trip, you can access it from both Osaka and Kyoto. It's a great trip to do if you're just down and about in Kyoto or Osaka, Or if you want to come on a proper fishing adventure across Japan, which we will go into again a little bit later, it's another pit stop on your fishing tour of this country. You get the best of both worlds there. You get to see all the temples, all the unbelievable history that's in this country, in addition to then heading down to Osaka and having some of the best seafood on the planet and so much more. Can't recommend this one enough to you, and that is also on the website. You can find out a little bit more details of that at www.japanesefishingadventures.com. You'll find more about Japanese Fishing Adventures also on our socials. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. Thought that was a little bit different. If you're having a bad day at the office, you can just pretend that you're doing work and be on Japanese Fishing Adventures. And we're also on Instagram at Japanese Fishing Adventures. The little handles down there, give us a little follow, much obliged. As I've said, Lake Biwa is in close proximity to Osaka and Kyoto. It's roughly 20 minutes outside of Kyoto and 40 minutes outside of Osaka. But Osaka is known for its sea fishing, and safe to say, we can offer you an unbelievable sea fishing trip here in Osaka too. There's so much variety off that coast. I'd be sat here all day trying to name the species of fish that you could catch, but just a few. You've got Suzuki, you've got tuna, you've got rockfish, you've got mahi-mahi. There's everything off that coast at various times of the year. That's also guided by Mori. Now, a little bit of information on Mori for you. So Mori actually works for Shimano. He is a lure planner for these guys, and he actually cracked out a lure from his tackle box, and I went, "Me mum bought me that for Christmas." He went, "Yeah, I made it." Blew my mind. I bought that in a tackle shop in Padiham in the northwest. Yeah, I'm sat here with the guy who created it. Blew my mind, in truth with you. Anywho, get yourselves to Osaka, get yourselves to Kyoto, and you can have an absolute mental time fishing. Well worth doing, and there's going to be a few more added in the area as well. There is some amazing river fishing down there. I'm just in the process of getting that sorted out, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe to the website www.japanesefishingadventures.com, and you'll be kept up to date with all the latest fishing news we've got going on here in Japan. And I'm also surprised I've not been snagged. Fish on! Oh, he's off! Dang it! I knew that was going to happen. But probably the best time to tell you about another trip that we have on the site, and this is with yours truly. You guessed it, you'll come out on a guided fishing trip with Bang Average Fishing himself, aka Harry Crossley, up in the wild Hokkaido. Hokkaido is a mental place. It is proper remote. There's about 5 million people in Hokkaido, with 3 million of those people living in Sapporo. It's about the size of Ireland, to give you some context. So as you can imagine, there's a hell of a lot of space, a hell of a lot of wilderness, and as such, a hell of a lot of fish. There's also wild bears up here, orcas, some weird chipmunk things that have massive eyes, eagles, foxes, you name it. The wildlife is out of this world. And if you want a remote river fishing experience, then this is definitely the trip for you. The variety of species in these rivers is absolutely out of this world, and some of the hardest fighting fish that I've caught in rivers. We got rainbow trout, we got brown trout, we got char, we got masu trout, we've even got ito. Yes, we've got bloody ito, one of the rarest fish on the planet. And for those of you who don't know what an ito is, it's a Japanese hooken. Feel I should concentrate a little bit more on the fishing, but at the same time, this is an advert and a sales pitch. So probably, I don't know where I sit on that. And last but not least, another one based up here in Hokkaido. This is ice fishing. Now, very limited, to be honest with you. This is between December and March. As you can expect, it's when the lakes are frozen, right? You can't be going out in the middle of summer ice fishing, can you? Just stay in the obvious there, you know, for all of those people who don't know that ice needs cold weather. But, you know, no judgment if you don't know that. But ice fishing, and there you'll be fishing for rainbow trout, dolly varden, char, brownies as well. And this is based in the Niseko area. So you can come for a ski in the morning, go fishing in the afternoon, or vice versa, however you want to do it. It's a great little extra activity if you're on a ski holiday up here. And proper good fun. The guide you'll be fishing with is an absolute legend as well. He's actually a really seriously qualified fly angler, so he does a lot of fly fishing on here in the summer. But in the winter months, he's an ice fishing expert. Well worth doing. You can take one of your trout home for tea as well, maybe even have it over a little barbecue in -10 degrees. What more could you bloody ask for? A little bit of a niche trip, I know, but well worth it, and I am so excited actually to give it a proper go in the winter months. So there we have it. We have a few guided trips, rocking and rolling, ready to be booked immediately. But that isn't to say if there's somewhere you want to go fishing, there's a good chance I'll be able to find you a guide in that area. Just drop us an email and we are here to help. It's not just guided trips too. We can do trips all across the country and package it all together so you can have an absolute blast. That includes your restaurants, that includes your accommodation, that includes your travel. We'll cover you. We will make sure that you have the best time here. And it's so good to be able to have someone you can speak to, someone you can pick the phone up to if you've got any questions, because that's what Japanese Fishing Adventures is all about. I don't want it to be really done online. I want you to be able to pick the phone up to me, have a little FaceTime, have a little WhatsApp call, and know that your trip is in safe hands. Japanese Fishing Adventures, everyone. We've got so many more trips to come online as well, so stay tuned for that. We've got blog posts going onto the website, so make sure you subscribe. Very exciting stuff. Bang Average Fishing isn't dead either. We're going to be continuing posting on there. There's going to be a little bit more probably trying to show you how amazing Japan is, but we're also going to be carrying on with our wild and wonderful fishing trips as well, because that's just me, period. What can we do? But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And remember, it's www.japanesefishingadventures.com. That's www.japanesefishingadventures.com. In addition to Japanese Fishing Adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, we're here for you. We want to make sure you have a great holiday here in Japan. It's an amazing country and you won't regret coming. Tie lines, folks, keep fishing, and hopefully I'll see you soon.